Detroit Lions fans, Detroit Den 313 with Steve and Will back with another episode. Today we got, I don't even know what you want to call it, an iron Motor City Iron Curtain. I don't know. What are we talking, Steve?
I don't know. We got to come up with a better nickname. You know, there's something in the world that I truly appreciate, William. Do you know what it is?
What's that?
People who actually watch episodes before generating opinions. So for those of you guys who stick around and actually watch the shows, your opinions are more valued than you ever will know, and we'll just leave it at that. But let me ask you a question, William.
Talk to me.
4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, whenever it was, when we saw that cart coming out in Dallas and Aidan Hutchinson getting carted off the field and saw the replays of his leg looking like wet spaghetti. I'll speak for myself. I don't know how you felt, but I said, I think our season's in trouble. How did you feel immediately?
Exactly that same way. I can't believe this type of stuff always happens. And and selfishly, I said me. I didn't even say the Detroit Lions. I said, why does this always happen to me? Like my boys, man. Like, yeah. So I was right there with you.
Okay. I think a lot of Lions fans would be honest with yourselves. Like that was probably the thought that a lot of Lions fans like, oh man, like there goes the season, like a lot of hype, a lot of expectation. If you had told me that after losing Aidan Hutchinson, we would be undefeated, I would have called you crazy. I would have said, there's no way. I was like, we 3-2, 4-1, maybe, but undefeated with a top 10 defense, leading the top 5 in turnovers with 2 safeties who were right up there in the league lead with interceptions. Carlton Davis with 2 more interceptions. I would have called you nuts. I would have said Aaron Glenn's just can't catch a break. You know, he's always losing key players and key moments, like can't stay healthy. Like we try to give this guy everything, but it's just not working out. It's not his fault. We're a top 5 defense with help on the way this week. Zadarius Smith. Mm-hmm. How far can this Detroit Lions defense take us?
Super Bowl.
New Orleans, Bourbon Street.
Victory.
Drinking hurricanes and hand grenades, just some beignets.
Yeah. Mardi Gras. Like, what are we talking about? Yeah, Super Bowl, man. Without a doubt. I think when I look at our defense, man, you say it all the time, and I've been screaming it for a couple of seasons. AG's a monster, man. He's doing his thing. We've seen what he could do with less, and now we're seeing what he can do when he actually has some pieces. And just adding another piece to it, man, I think is really going to push us over the hump. I wouldn't say right now. I know statistically we can go through and see spaces where we're doing a really good job, but I wouldn't call us top 5 just yet right now. But we're about to be top 5. Period.
I love how this defense plays. Mm-hmm. It's different guys. Like we saw Lee McNeil step up, and then I'm thinking, man, like Lee McNeil just had a great game against Houston. Now we're going to throw in Zadarius Smith, and maybe Josh Pascal steps up next week. Like we have so many different pieces. And you said something a while ago on defense, having playmakers at all 3 levels. Lee McNeil hasn't been dominant this year, but he's been looking really good the last few weeks. You throw in Alex Anzalone, who's never talked about. Jack Campbell's playing good. We don't even need to talk about our safeties, do we? Like we have guys at every level on defense just making plays. Young guys making plays, veterans making plays. Like it just doesn't matter. So let me ask you another question. What's that?
I said the depth is what scares me, man. It's crazy.
What do you mean?
Like we got guys like Amik Roberson who's just fighting his way on the field. Like he's not even on the field all the time. We got a guy that's about to come back and be impactful, and I got a hot one that I'm brewing up for you guys. And Ife Melifonwu that hasn't even really been playing, man. I mean, we got the Malcolm Rodriguez's of the world who Calvin Shepard was like, man, I can't not play this dude. You veterans better step up and take a spot from this young man. He just went in, kicked in the door, and took his own situation. And then he's struggling to fight his way and claw his way on the field because of how we've drafted and veterans like Anzalone stepping up and leading his team. It's just we got dogs on the bench that can come in and be starting in other places, man. That
Emmanuel Mosley.
Yeah, man. It's the depth is scary for the rest of this league, Steve.
And I've said it before. We have players, young players, like a guy like Ennis Rakestraw, who was drafted in the 2nd round. Like we've been in a position not too long ago where our second round players are getting on the field and getting significant playing time. And it's no knock on Rakestraw. It's just, where can you play him? Like, he's just a kind of sit it and forget it. And hey, maybe next year, you'll get on the field more. It's not anything that he can't play. It's just, who do you play him over? Like, we have so much depth in the secondary. I know our defensive line's kind of being tested, but I just don't know how you beat this Detroit Lions team in all three aspects. I just don't. When people say, "Oh, I think the Chiefs are the better team in the NFL," I don't see it. I've watched a lot of Chiefs games, and everyone keeps talking about how the Chiefs and Lions are on a collision course for the Super Bowl. I know we got to take care of business on our side first, but when I watch the Chiefs play, they're not the Chiefs of like 4 years ago. Like, they play better defense. Patrick Mahomes isn't putting up Patrick Mahomes type numbers. Travis Kelce's not putting up those crazy numbers. Like, they don't have a solid running game. I'm not ready to buy into Kareem Hunt yet. I think if we play the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl, William, do I just get a Super Bowl logo like tattooed on my butt cheeks? Like, what are we talking?
I think we just go ahead and book the tattoo appointments.
2025, whatever Super Bowl it is. I can't even remember. Here's a question, and we haven't talked about this. Do you think it's realistic that we could see Aidan Hutchinson return this year?
100%, man. I'm gonna give you guys a cheat that I keep in my back pocket, right? I forget his name off the top of my head, but if you just Google search fantasy football doctor, right, he'll pop up on YouTube, right? And he does videos, and a lot of times that he'll analyze the injuries of players and give you a solid estimation professionally of when they should return. And he talked about Aidan. And the first thing that I came on and I said is, the one good thing about this thing is it isn't ligament damage. It's a bone, and bones heal fairly quickly, and they heal even faster when you're young, right? And he's still a young man in his 20s, right? I think that we're going to see Aidan in the Super Bowl per what the doctor has said is possible, and just, my hopes and my dreams. So yeah, I think it's a definite possibility. How you feel about it?
I don't think it happens. I'm not trying to be the negative Nancy in the room, but I think, yeah, he's young. It was a clean break. It was still a pretty traumatic incident to watch. I can't even imagine going through it. But the way Dan Campbell is going to handle this, and this is how I feel, is even if it's the Super Bowl, you don't want to risk injury again. This thing would have to be like all of the stars would have to align. Everything would have to go Aidan Hutchinson's way. Everything would have to be 100% clean, 100% healed. If there's any shadow of a doubt or anything that they don't absolutely love, no, I don't think he plays. And I don't think if we get to the Super Bowl, I don't think we need Aidan Hutchinson. And that's no knock. That's my dude. But I don't know. I've seen a lot of people talking about that, and I personally just don't think that the team would risk something like that for a long-term injury.
I agree with you to a certain extent. I'll say this, and I think you're dead on. The only way that he does play is if the doctor says, "Hey, man, this thing's healed. Let him go do his thing." Right now, if there's a shadow of a doubt, no, he won't be out there. But if the doctor says, "Listen, there may even be a little bit of discomfort there, but this bone is healed. This thing is good to go. It's ready." And I don't know what the whole extent of it. Did they put a plate in there? Is there a rod in there? What the situation is? I'm quite sure though there's something in there to reinforce this thing. And if it just comes down to whether or not there's discomfort, and he doesn't have to worry about damaging it any further, and he's got to have a whole offseason after that game, after all the Super Bowls and celebrations and champagne, we can wheel him around for that. He isn't gonna have to he isn't gonna have to walk around for that stuff. He got a whole offseason to get right. So I do think that you're right on. I'll piggyback you. If there's any questions or any doubts, he won't be out there. But if he has a clear enough bill of health to where they don't believe that he can re-injure it, I think he'll be out there.
Now, if like 3-4 weeks from now, I get on Twitter, Instagram, and I see Aidan Hutchinson working out, jumping around, doing box jumps, something like that, I might start to get a little excited. Like I might start thinking, and the only reason I bring up Aidan Hutchinson, I know it's kind of old news, but everyone, like I said, keeps talking about this collision course we're on with the Kansas City Chiefs. And what is burned into my head is the Super Bowl a few years ago, and we've talked about this before, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they made Patrick Mahomes' life a living hell. And if it's not Patrick Mahomes, if it's Josh Allen, if the Bengals get hot and it's Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson, I think the recipe's still the same. You make a quarterback uncomfortable. We have the pieces to do that. You add Zadarius Smith. Maybe we get Barnes back. Maybe Aleem McNeil's still hot. Aidan Hutchinson coming back. Like, if Aidan Hutchinson comes back, and I'm talking like all of the stars align, we're going to be unstoppable.
Steve, I just feel like we got a bit of a Cinderella story brewing in Detroit. I think this is one of those things where you look back and you watch the highlights from, when Jake Bates is making a kick and it's just barely going through the uprights. It's just, you can't write this stuff, man. I think it's something special brewing here in Detroit, and I think that's just going to be part of this special story.
How many dollar bills do you think you could fit between the football and the field goal post of those Jake Bates field goals?
$0 bills.
I was gonna say three max. Not even enough for a Happy Meal. But yeah, I'm just excited about this defense. I think it's playing very well. Again, when this Aidan Hutchinson thing happened, I said, "Man, our season's probably over. Like, it's probably not going to end with a Super Bowl. We'll go undefeated. We're getting hot. There's some talks about Barnes and Aidan Hutchinson possibly coming back, especially for the Super Bowl. Chiefs. Yeah. We covered it all tonight, William. You got anything else?
I do. So there's been a comparison going around, and it has to do with Zadarius. You're gonna know where I'm going.
I know what it is. Yeah.
They're talking about that there's a resemblance to somebody who played a pivotal role in some championships that came here to Detroit. I want to know, do you see a resemblance there with Rasheed Wallace and Zadarius? Because I don't know, man. Was there a cloning?
I think while Rasheed was in Detroit, he might have made a baby, and they ended up being Zadarius Smith. Because put it back up. It is twins.
Man,
yeah, that's as close as it gets.
That is
Zadarius might have a little bit more of a full beard, but that hey, end of list. That's it.
Hey, hopefully Zadarius brings that same luck that Rasheed brought to Detroit, man. Let's get some rings.
All right, guys, leave some comments, hit that like button, stick around, subscribe. We'll be back later with another show.
Peace.